Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Habs episode or this Habs post-game show edition of Langer at the Mic Live. Not quite the post-game show because, again, the Montreal Canadiens are losing 5-1 to the Ottawa Senators, and they do have a power play right now. They do have a power play. They're first of the game, and it took this long to get their first power play because that's how badly they've been playing. But it's in the commercial break, and I'm just, as I've done a little bit more often than I'd like in the last couple weeks. I have here I am streaming post game in the middle of the third period because the Habs are just the Habs and they're out of it. And yeah, so honestly, I can react to this game in one of two ways. Either I can get really, really upset with the Canadiens losing to and getting outplayed, obviously, and getting outworked by a young Ottawa Senators team that was missing Thomas Chabot, who does not have Thomas Chabot for the rest of the season. Or it could also refer back to the fact that this team is just a tired team, and they're also missing Weber, Price, Tatar, Drouin, Byron, Gallagher, right? And the Sens also, they're not a bad team anymore or compared to the beginning of the season because now this will be like their 8th win in the last 11 games. So look, it looks ugly on the scoreboard, the fact that it was 2-1, but come on, man, this just it's just been a brutal stretch for the Canadiens, and let's not forget how fun the last 3 games were. Let's not forget the comeback win against the Jets, the comeback win against the Sens, the comeback win against the Leafs, with Cole Caulfield scoring his first 2 overtime winners, and maybe he's going to get a goal over here on the power play. I don't know. I'll give you a little bit of a play-by-play back and forth here, but yeah, just But here's the other thing, though. It's also partly the coaches. Is Caulfield even out there? They have Toffoli out there and Petrie. So Caulfield isn't out there just yet on the first wave of the power play. But yeah, look again. It just they weren't going. They haven't won 4 games in a row this season because of how inconsistent they've been. So the fact that they were able to win 3 games in a row, first of all, is an impressive within itself. And the fact that they did so while giving up the first goal, with how bad they've been this season after giving up the first goal before these last 3 games, the Habs had only 2 wins in games where they gave up the first goal. And they only had 2 wins in games where they trailed after 2 periods. But for 3 games in a row after giving up the first goal, they came back to win. And for 2 games in a row when trailing after 2 periods, they came back to win. So honestly, they're going to play the Leafs tomorrow night, and I think also on Saturday, and then they have one more day with the Edmonton Oilers last week. So there's 4 games left of the season. So honestly, the Jets are going to play, I think, the Flames tonight, and that will have a large determination on whether the Habs play the Leafs or whether they play the Oilers in the first round. But the way I see it is, who really cares? Because it's the playoffs, and just while Edmonton would be a more favorable matchup, you got to be it's either McDavid and Draisaitl or Matthews, Marner, Nylander, or whatever. So and Caulfield. Here's another thing that bothers me, though: the coach. Because why you're down 5-1 and you don't even give Caulfield a shift on the power play. So those things are going to upset me. You're down 5-1 and you don't know when Carey Price is going to come back. He skated today in not goalie equipment, and but you don't know when he's going to skate, when he's going to be back, and if he'll be back at 100%. So why are you making Jake Allen play the last 15 minutes of a hockey game where you're trailing 5-1? That stuff I don't like. Okay, Caulfield finally gets out there with 2 minutes left. Power play already expired. The Habs didn't score. It's things like that bother me with this coach, And I didn't hate. I like the adjustment with the defense pairings. I think Romanov should be down on the third pair with Merrill, and I think that goal that was at the end of the third period there, that turnover that led to just an innocent shot on net from the point by Bradstrom that got deflected by Nick Paul. To me, that is more of that's kind of more on Merrill than Romanov. But Sherratt wasn't too hot in this game either, even though he's been fantastic these last couple of games. But Sherratt tonight wasn't as great. He left. I want to say, who was it? Who was the guy that who was the guy left wide open that scored the fourth goal there? Connor Brown. Yeah, he left Connor Brown wide open and just one-timed it home past Jake Allen. You got to feel for Jake Allen, though. Like, so many times he's been hung out to dry this year. But that's where it's like, okay, coach, put Caden Primo in, give Jake Allen a break, let him recover, let him rest and recover. Unless, I guess the only tricky thing, though, is if they're playing the Leafs tomorrow back-to-back, like I wouldn't play Jake Allen back-to-back. I'd play Caden Primo tomorrow. So I guess that is some justification for putting Jake Allen or having Jake Allen finish the game. Now there's 52 seconds left. Obviously, don't worry, you didn't miss much in the Habs game. Again, I'm watching it and letting you know. I'll let you know if anything relevant happens, but probably not. There's another 40 seconds left. And here's another thing. Like, tonight was a difficult night in terms of the Kotkaniemi versus Tkachuk debate. And there's a nice shot by Brett Kulak, but a nice save by Anton Forsberg, who played well tonight. Give Anton Forsberg credit. The Habs did get 31 shots on net. They're outshot 34-31, but they did have some chances early in the third period and even the first period to come back in this game and to make this a closer game than it was. But Anton Forsberg played well tonight. And while there were games like that the Habs have had where they've put up 30, 40, 50 shots on net, okay, maybe not 50, but yeah, like 30 shots on net, but none of them were threatening. In this one, Forsberg actually had to make some pretty nice saves to give the Sens a chance to win. So you got to give Anton Forsberg credit for what he did. And yeah, sorry, I just didn't have the chat box open. So as usual, leave a comment. Yeah, there's a Bialahi in the comment section. Too many passengers. Need more contributions from other line mates. You cannot score if it is the same people that score. That is absolutely true, because if it's always going to be Josh Anderson, if it's always going to be Tyler Toffoli, then you need other guys or Cole Caulfield in overtime. You need guys like, what about, Lehkonen got one recently, but what about Eric Staal? What about Eric Staal, who was brought on to, be a contributor in the middle six and score goals? What about, Philip Deneau tied up last game, bad example. What about, Josh Anderson? He's had a lot of opportunities, but he's gone kind of cold lately. He's missing a lot of chances, I find, lately. Still, don't get me wrong, he's still great at affecting the game and the flow of the game and being strong on the forecheck and making things happen for sure. But, when it comes to every single, like from a game-to-game basis, like, yeah, it can't be Toffoli and Anderson scoring goals for you every single game. You need to see contributions from other guys. And here's another thing, like I was going to say, it's been a rough evening in terms of the Kotkaniemi versus Brady Tkachuk debate, but also here's the thing with, first of all, these two guys, like they're two completely different players. Brady Tkachuk and Jesperi Kotkaniemi, they're completely different players, playing completely different positions, and you won't know who is more valuable to which team and probably for another 3-4 years from now, because Brady Tkachuk has never played in the playoffs. He's perfectly suited for the playoffs, but clearly he's not good enough to help the Sens get to the playoffs just yet. And obviously the Sens have a lot of other things that they needed to work on earlier this year to be good enough to battle out for that playoff spot. Because of how bad they were early in the season, they have no chance at making obviously they're eliminated when the Habs beat them this weekend. But yeah, just there's interesting conversations on Twitter here, and I feel like the thing with Jesperi Kotkaniemi is that so many of us we're just traumatized by Alex Galchenyuk and how he got rushed right to the Montreal Canadiens in his first rookie season, even though he had an ACL injury in juniors with the Sarnia Sting. He missed time because of a torn ACL, and he did start in that lockout season with the Sarnia Sting, and he was dominant in the OHL, but he maybe should not have played in his first year, and he contributed a little bit. He scored some goals, made some plays, showed his talent in his first season, but with Galchenyuk, it just never really worked out with him. And even though he did have that 30-goal season and that really good 2015-2016 season, it just never worked out for him. It never worked out for him. But I also think that, obviously a lot of that is on Michel Therrien, but a lot of that is also just because he never really took those next steps in terms of his play without the puck. And if you talk to Leaf fans right now, he is in a complementary role, of course, right now with Tavares and Nylander and obviously Matthews, Marner, blah, 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 right? He's in a complementary role right now. And that's kind of changed the way he's played. And that's how he's playing well right now, because he's more of a checker, more of focusing on being good on the forecheck, more of a guy that just kind of just compliments the top guys that are on his line. But in Montreal, he was expected to be that top guy, And yeah, coming back to Jesperi Kotkaniemi and Bialahi there, I'll get to your comment in a second. But just to me, like in games like it's almost like a cat and mouse or a chicken and egg relationship, because coach doesn't give Kotkaniemi confidence. So Kotkaniemi plays not well. And as a result, the coach, doesn't give him as many opportunities or doesn't play him with top line mates like Suzuki has been playing with. And Suzuki has been much better these last couple games. I even really like Suzuki's game tonight. That Toffoli, Suzuki, Armia line is still money, still really, really good. And they got chances tonight. And Suzuki set up Toffoli on a couple of really nice plays, but Toffoli unfortunately just wasn't able to get his best shot on those chances that Suzuki set up for him. But look at Suzuki, how what's it called? Or just for so many games in a row early in the season, he got to stay with Jonathan Drouin and Josh Anderson, while Kotkaniemi was rotated between Toffoli, between Perry, between Lehkonen, between Armia, between Byron, between Evans. Just Kotkaniemi never really got to settle in with any given line mates. And when he was settled in with the better wingers on this team, like Josh Anderson, Thomas Tatar, Toffoli a couple of times, well, that's when Kotkaniemi has played really, really well. But the problem is that even when he was in those positions to succeed and he was playing well, as soon as the Habs as a team weren't doing well, then Kotkaniemi would be the guy that would be pushed down the lineup. And guys like Anderson, Toffoli, they'd be brought up to Danault's line or brought up to Suzuki's line, even when Suzuki was struggling, which is really frustrating. And Roger in the comments, KK has the tools to be a very good center and player. BT is a power forward. BT, who's BT again? Is a power forward. So Brady Tkachuk, is a power forward. So he becomes more obvious, while KK is very positional, as you said. Exactly. So that's exactly. So Tkachuk is like a 6'2", 210 whatever pound Gallagher. That's what Brady Tkachuk is. But Kotkaniemi is a two-way center. And in this league, two-way centers are more valuable from a franchise building perspective than even guys like Brandon Gallagher, two-way, power forward, relentless, high effort wingers. They are. You win in the playoffs with guys like Brady Tkachuk, Brandon Gallagher, but you also need a guy like Anze Kopitar or Jonathan Taves or Braden Point, or maybe not Steven Stamkos, but or Patrice Bergeron. You need that number one franchise two-way center playing a 200-foot game, arguably more than you need a guy like Brady Tkachuk or Brandon Gallagher. Arguably. So that's where, and there have been games where Kotkaniemi has outplayed Brady Tkachuk with playing the 200-foot game or setting up passes. I don't know what's going on my camera right now. But all this to say is Kotkaniemi, he needs that opportunity to be effective. He needs his coach's confidence, or he needs the coach to have some confidence in him and play him with guys with a little bit better offensive potential than Evans and Lehkonen. Nothing against Evans and Lehkonen in terms of the way they play, because they're also very important to this team. And you also need guys like them to win the playoffs with the way they skate, with the way they forecheck, with the way they kill penalties, the way they block shots. But unfortunately, they're just not the most offensively gifted players. Jake Evans, again, had a great chance in the second period, but because he just took too long to let his shot go, Anton Forsberg made an easy save with his glove, because Jake Evans telegraphed his shot. He caught it, waited, caught the pass, right? Waited, and then shot. So at that point, as a goalie, it's like, okay, you're settled in. Oh, he's going glove side. All right, no big deal, right? Whereas Caulfield, the way he gets his chances and the way he scored his 2 goals, the 2-on-1 was the one back door. So that's just him fishing a beautiful pass from Jeff Petrie and scoring the way a goal scorer should. But the one on Campbell, especially with Armia in front of him, and I'm also going to count the the crossbar that he hit on Campbell the other night. That's a matter of puck lands on his stick and it's off in a split second. And that's what even Jake Allen said at one of these Zoom press conferences, or one of the media availability days. I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, sometime this week, where he's saying how how Cole Caulfield, the way he disguises his release is akin to that of a certain Vladimir Tarasenko, who Jake Allen played with the St. Louis Blues. And Vladimir Tarasenko is a pretty darn good goal scorer in this league, right? So someone like Jake Evans and Arturi Lehkonen, they don't have that ability to shoot like Cole Caulfield, which is why, again, why don't you just play Sari Kotkaniemi with Cole Caulfield? Because with Suzuki, Armia, Toffoli, that's your one offensive line. You have Danault playing well, and playing a two-way game with Josh Anderson, and let's say a Lehkonen on that left wing. Why not have that be like an energy two-way shutdown line? But then put like a Caulfield with Kotkaniemi and maybe a Perry on that wing, or put an Evans on that wing or his off wing or something. I'm just saying you can figure out ways to get Kotkaniemi playing with more offensively gifted players in this lineup, but the coach has to make that decision for him. So yeah, that's kind of all I have here. Like I said, again, just is it really worth getting that upset about this game? I mean, yeah, it looks ugly on the scoreboard, but a loss is a loss. And honestly, with the Jets playing the Flames tonight, it's either the Jets win and the Habs fall out of third place, but the Calgary Flames lose and the Habs are that much closer to clinching the division, because right now the Habs are at 57 points and the Flames are at 47 points. Wait, they update that? I'm going to have to refresh that. Give me a quick second, actually. Excuse me. So the Habs, 57 points through 52 games, and the Flames are at 47 points through 50 games. So the Habs, I think, would just need to have a 9-point lead on the Flames for their last game of the season to clinch the playoffs. But even then, the Flames would have to win all of their remaining games. So all this to say, the more the Flames lose, the more of a chance it is for the Habs to clinch a playoff spot. Or if the Jets lose, then the Habs still have a chance to get that second place position in the North Division, or sorry, the third place the position in the North Division, and probably play the Edmonton Oilers in the playoffs. But yeah, so again, I'm not, especially with how well they played the previous 3 games. A loss is a loss, whether you lose 2-1 or 5-1 or 10-1, right? And there are obviously there's no excuse for the way they played tonight. But look, it's not like they can rest the next 2 or 3 days and come back at it on Friday or Saturday, because they play the Toronto Maple Leafs tomorrow night. So his team just has no chance to rest and recover. And but look, the hope, or the what's it called? The silver lining is, come playoff time, like come game 1 of the playoffs, if you like, they would need to have ideally Tatar and Byron and Gallagher and even Weber. Yes, even Weber, because a rested Shea Weber is very valuable to your lineup. And even maybe, I mean, I'm not going to put that pressure on Jonathan Drouin because we know his situation and we keep wishing him the best. Oh, and by the way, I also have to mention that Steve Barton, the linesman, we got to give Steve Barton our best wishes as well. The linesman took a puck to the throat or somewhere in his shoulder or something very high up, and he clearly was in a lot of pain from it. So as much as we rag on referees, they're still human, and we just have to wish the best for them. So yeah, when they get hurt like that, so prayers to Steve Barton. Hope he's okay. A couple of other comments here from Sheldon. Something I noticed about Kotkaniemi this season is that he barely one-time any slappers on the power play this season. When he did, though, he missed the net against Edmonton a couple weeks ago. So what's it called? Just continuing the comment there, he scored a decent portion of his rookie goals on his off wing with one-timers. And that's something you could look into. Maybe put him on that off wing with Caulfield. But I think that in terms of his tools, or the way they want him to play, is they see him as more effective as a guy, at least on the power play, manning that left wing, that half wall down the left wing, and setting up either the point or feeding, let's say, another guy on the far side, whether it's Caulfield or Perry down low to feed it in front, or Gallagher when Gallagher's in the lineup. So I just think that with the way that they see Kotkaniemi's quarterbacking skills of the power play from that half wall, maybe not necessarily quarterback, but you know what I mean, like puck possession and playmaking skills from that half wall, as more valuable than him as a one-time option. So that's probably why they keep him on that left side instead of the right side. And I don't have a problem with that, honestly. I don't, because that would imply that Kotkaniemi's on the ice, and getting power play time. So with it, which is in the last 10 years of Habs coaches, young guys getting power play time and ice time isn't always a guarantee. So I'm okay with that. Roger Delaney, I would love to see KK with Caulfield and Anderson. Suzuki will emerge as number one, but with a duo set. And yeah, I would be cool with Kotkaniemi with Caulfield and Anderson, especially when Gallagher and Tatar gets back. There you go. You have Anderson, Kotkaniemi, Caulfield. You have Suzuki, Toffoli, Armia, and then you just put the Tatar, Danault, and Gallagher line back together, and there you have three solid lines, provided that they're all playing well. The only issue with Anderson and Caulfield on the same line is who plays right wing, who plays left wing. I feel like Caulfield might be still better on his right wing at 5-on-5, but you can make it work. You figure it out, make it work. Bialahi, Ottawa D was a difference today. Great passing to their forwards and blocked the zone when the Habs tried to enter. I mean, yeah, like look, the Ottawa defensemen, they're young, but they're good skaters. I mean, especially the guy that used to be on the Habs, who I don't like to talk very much about because I'm indifferent with him. And sure, he played a lot of ice time today, but who else does Ottawa have to play more than Victor Mete? Like no one. I will say, though, Artyom Zub is a Habs killer. I've been tweeting about this at Mike Langer. Give me a follow again on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Mike Langer for all three. And Artyom Zub has like now 7 points, 2 goals, 5 assists against the Montreal Canadiens. So, so just they have young defensemen, but when the Habs are on, or when they should be on their game, the way you should be able to exploit that, and yeah, Branstrom as well. When they're on your game, you should be able to put pressure on them and force them into turning pucks over and just exploit them. But the Habs are on their game tonight, so they couldn't make it happen. Sheldon, with you having said that, does Kotkaniemi improve his release enough over the offseason to become a dual threat on the left circle on the PP? Again, Kotkaniemi's skill set, I would say Kotkaniemi's playmaking and puck possession will always be better than his one-timer. Sure, he could develop his shot, his wrist shot, his quick release, his shooting accuracy. But to me, though, he will also continue to become better at possessing the puck on that left half wall and setting guys up and making plays and winning battles along the boards. So honestly, I would agree with the coaching staff. I mean, if that's what they think, that's what I think. And that's what I think they think. And if that's true, I would agree with them because I would say that Kotkaniemi is more valuable in that role as long as you have guys like Toffoli and Caulfield now in your lineup that can score goals from that right wing side. And even Suzuki, who we've seen now that they're setting up for that set play with traffic in front. And he's been money scoring goals like that in the last 2-3 weeks. They found something that worked there and they just got to keep it going. They just got to play well enough at 5-on-5 to get power play chances. But look, Toronto tomorrow night, Toronto, I think on Saturday, and another date with the Edmonton Oilers next week. 4 games left. And just honestly, all you can really hope and cheer for is that the Canadians do everything they can to give themselves the opportunity to have a fully healthy lineup and fully healthy and as rested as possible lineup for game 1 of the playoffs, assuming they make it there and they don't lose all their games and the Flames win all their games. But yeah, that's all you can hope for in that, and that whether it's the Leafs or the Oilers doesn't matter because they have to be ready to play their best. And I think they can be really good. We've seen it this weekend, how they can play. Now imagine if they're rested going into a 7 or more rested going into a 7-game playoff series. So that's all we have for tonight. Just already talked quite a bit here. I mean, that's usually what happens when I start halfway through the third period. But as usual, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to my channel here at Langer at the Mic if you really enjoy my commentary. And also leave a comment in the comment section as to whether you agree with me that, just what's the point in getting upset about tonight's game, or are you really, really mad at tonight's game, or are you really optimistic about tonight's game? I don't know. Leave that in the comments section. And as usual, give me a follow at Mike Langer for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Mike Langer for all 3. And this has been a Habs post-game show here on Langer at the Mic live. And thank you, as usual, so much for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you again next time tomorrow night.